We're so grateful that you could join us every day at same time, same place. And so is good morning from me.
Good morning, Alka. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our show.
I'm sure. Welcome. So today we're going to be talking about Rhea's book, Apartment Prescription,
It's
and
upside
how
down.
with all these links that have just gone like crazy. It's like, yeah. So today we're going to talk about Rhea's book, Apartment Prescription, and what she is going to prescribe to you, right? So, Rhea, I want to talk about chapter 1 and how in the book you mention that you were so looking forward to pivoting. Can you explain to the viewers?
Pivot is difficult, especially if you're beginning, if you're a novice, if you're starting. So the pivot I made was not easy, and I didn't pivot, I didn't forego of my physician position right away. I did it part-time physician, and I did investing as a side hustle. And then once I knew that it was the right vehicle for me to do my investing, that's when I laid down my white coat, and that was in August 2014, and I went full-time into apartment investing. So I studied first, I invested in myself, I followed mentors, and I learned for 1 year on the tax and wealth strategy. And then when I knew that it was the right vehicle for me, then I pursued it.
That's beautiful. I love that because you know what? Because there comes a point, people who are listening, they might be saying, okay, well, I want to get started, whether it's real estate or any kind of venture. I want to get started, but, most people that I know of, they've, quickly just, resigned from their job and they've just followed that dream job that they wanted to get into. But, we don't know if that second job that you're looking for, if it's going to be successful, right? So, so don't put your eggs all in one basket. Go step by step because that's going to be the wise way. And that will alleviate so much time, so much trouble and headaches too, right, Rhea?
That's correct. Now, one thing I can share with you is that when you're borrowing money from the lenders, the bankers, it's very important that you actually meet their requirements. So the bankers, the lenders have a sheet of paper that they follow. And one of them is being employed or a W-2 income. So, just like what you said, Alka, you don't give up your first job because the investing side that you're going to go in, especially if you're in the, starting it, you're going to be working as an employee in your new venture. So when you start your own apartment business, when you borrow money from the bank, they have this sheet of paper, literally a sheet of paper, right? And you have to check, you need to qualify to be able that they check their box off. And one of the qualifications is a W-2 income. So the banks, the lenders want to make sure that you as an investor would be able to pay them back. And having that income from your W-2 job, either you or your spouse, will help check that box on the banker or lender side of things.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, because that's interesting. You mentioned lenders, because when it comes to like financing, most often, we are left sort of wondering, what do I need to say to a lender? How is it that they are going to be able to give us the loan? So, Rhea, can you shed light on perhaps what is the buyer? What is the criteria? What is the requirements that a lender, what do they look for so that people can understand?
Sure, I'd be happy to share my knowledge and the experience I've gone through over this past years. So when I talk to bankers or lenders, in fact, I was with the lender a couple of days ago and we had a lunch meeting. I prepared my set of documents. So what did I bring into the table when I met with the lender? So we were in a restaurant and we talked about things and I showed, my business plan, and I gave them I gave him a folder with this set of documents. So number one, I gave him our your 3 months of you or your spouse income. So your monthly paycheck over the last 3 months, you need to have that in your folder. For example, if this is the folder that you're gonna bring, you hand him over your income over the last 2 to 3 months. The other sheet that I provided to him, aside from my income, was the W-2 over the last 3 years. So the the federal tax return. So the federal tax returns are it's due in April. So these are the tax filings that you and your accountant would prepare. And they look at this to see if you're a qualified buyer, if you're able to pay, the loans and the mortgages. So aside from your income, your paycheck, your tax return, you would also need to bring a copy of if you have your FICO or credit score. Here in the USA, we have our credit score. So it tells you whether you pay your bills on time. And there are 3 credit reporting bureaus here in the United States. So if you have one copy, either from TransUnion or Equifax, that would suffice. Just bring a copy of your recent FICO score or credit score. That would tell them that you're a great payer. So to recap, you need your monthly pay stub, you need your tax return over the last 3 years, and you need your FICO score. Now, the other thing that they would want to see is your PFS. What does PFS stands for? It's personal financial statement. Personal financial statement looks back at your income. It looks back at your expenses. It looks at your assets, and it looks at your liabilities. So the personal financial statement, you have to update every 3 months or more frequently. So when I met with a banker a couple of days ago, my personal financial statement is current. So if I met them February 1, I made sure that it was of the February 1 personal financial statement. So those are just some of the things that the bank lender would look at.
And that's beautiful because you know what? Because when we go in to you wanted to purchase, say for example, real estate, you want to purchase real estate or whatever you want to purchase, but you have to, sometimes, we think, oh, okay, well, do I have enough money, in my account to qualify? So even when it comes to funding and financing, you may not have to put all your money in, because if you find a good lender, then they can sort of put all the equity in and build on the equity so that you don't have to worry about putting all your money in, right, Rhea? So you don't have to worry, because if you find a good lender, they will build on that equity. So that is a plus. So finding a good lender, and also be in the room where there are people, because people are connections, and connections are the ones that you have to be with and be amongst others who have the money, who you want to be and do what they have.
That is correct. I agree 100%.
Exactly. So financing and lenders, they play a huge role in when it comes to your assets. So
Yes.
Rhea, so chapter 1 in your book, so you had already made up your mind to leave medicine and to start in your real estate journey as an entrepreneur. And you've been so successful as to how you've accumulated. How many properties do you have right now, Rhea?
Well, we have 6 to 7 apartment units between my husband and we're closing on 2 more units. And between our Rockstar Florida team, we're closing on 135 apartment units.
Wow, congratulations. Oh my
Thank
goodness,
you.
that is so amazing. That is so amazing. So you just mentioned team. So my question, and maybe the viewers also would like to know, how do you go about finding a team? Because not all teams are, you got to be aligned with each other. So what is your process? How did you go about finding the team, the Rockstar Florida team, but it could be anywhere. So how was that process done?
So just like what you said, Alka, you've got to be with people in the right room. So you cannot find this, rock star team in your own home. So what you do is you network. There is a saying that goes, your network is your net worth. So I had to go to, people that do apartment investing, and that's just what they do. I invested in my personal development. I went into an elite group of operators, apartment operators, or they're called syndicators. And I get to know them. We spend 5 to 7 days in a nice resort, and we get to know each other. So if you do that, if you think that you're aligned with them personally, professionally, and financially, then you're able to join and form a team together. So when you are planning to buy bigger apartment complexes, your banks and lenders would look for number one, your net worth, right? So if you're, for example, if you're trying to purchase a $20 million apartment complexes, the bank wants to make sure that all of the operators have more than $20 million, among all of you. So during the meeting among the operators, you're going to slowly, open up to them what your net worth is. Number two, your bank or lender would look at your liquidity, how much
Mm.
money you have liquid to, to repair or to do some maintenance on the property, just in case if there's any problem. Number three, your lender would look at your experience. How long have you been doing this, right? How many operators are experienced in the apartment space? So these are the three things that your lender would look at when you're buying these big apartment complexes. So when you break bread, for 5 or 7 days with the other operators, you'll get to know each other more. So that's what we did.
That is so good because you know what, connections, and it's all about connections, especially in this field. Um, it could be any endeavor for that matter, but when it comes to connections, connections is everything because the more we get to know other people, we find out that, we're like-minded, growth-minded. Actually, I like that word, growth-minded. We're growth-minded. So it really sort of escalates and elevates the project so much better. And when you're connecting with one another, it's so beautiful because anything and everything can come out of that. So Rhea, this is actually, phenomenal conversation. I absolutely love it because, so you talk about entrepreneurship and you talk about, you've got really bigger units and, you've got more units that are coming and bigger. That is beautiful. So, but with more units that one has, there's also the element of risk because even as a real estate investor, I've heard people say, oh, but I've got say like 32 units or 60 units and I don't know if it's possible. I spent so much money and is it going to be possible? Well, you never know until you go on that road. You've invested your money in that particular property. And I will share my example later, but I'll let Rhea sort of answer that question. But Rhea, do you feel that there is an element of risk that is involved when, as a real estate investor who maybe is looking for the first time investing? What would you say to them?
There's always a risk, Alka, no matter what you do, whether you're doing stocks, bonds,
Mhm,
or you
mhm,
have your own, ice cream business, whatever
mhm.
you do. And even if you don't do anything, just staying on the sideline, you have risk. Why? Because inflation will beat your money. So staying the
Exactly.
sideline, not doing anything, stocks, bonds, or other businesses, or even apartments, there's always risk. So how do I mitigate the risk? How do I decrease the risk? Is number one, you invest in yourself, personal development. In my
Mhm.
first apartment, my first primary home, which became an apartment, I just bought because I loved it. Others were doing it, and I'm like, if others are doing it, let me go do it. Let me buy. And I bought it based on emotion, and that's how I lost the money. After that experience, I'm like, I can't lose any more money. So I invested in myself, I invested in personal development, and then I deployed that knowledge in my own backyard. Because who is the person that best knows your backyard? It's you. You know every corner, you know which one in the clock is the hottest location in town. So that's how you mitigate the risk. Now, when you're buying bigger apartment complexes, such as the 135 apartment units, that's where you
Mhm.
vet your operators. Number one, do they have experience? Number two, do they know the market? So one of the operators has to be in the local market because he's the eyes, the boots on the ground. He knows the area. Right? Does your operator have experience? Have they done this before? Because that's your banker, your lender wouldn't want to lose any money. So they're taking the risk on you. But before they lend you the money, they want to make sure that you have the experience, you have the net worth, and you have the liquidity. So just in case if something happens, you are liquid and can troubleshoot the problem.
And also property management. So when you get into like bigger properties, having a property manager to manage your complex is always vital as well. But property management, I would not suggest maybe if you're a beginner starting off, because why spend your money? Because you're just starting off, getting to know, getting your feet wet, getting to know about the industry, the ins and outs, the downs. And so do not, I mean, I've heard people say that, Rhea. So that's why I'm mentioning property management, because I'm hearing people say, oh, I want to get into real estate because, financial freedom, everybody wants that. Everybody wants to make, profits. But I hear them say, I want to hire a property manager. And I'm thinking, no, you don't. Because, I mean, I haven't and I won't, because I'm just starting off and we need to learn. The more we learn, the more we grow about this industry and know the ins and outs, Rhea, right? We need to know the ins and outs, especially when it comes to numbers. Oh my gosh, the numbers, I cannot enforce more enough about knowing your numbers on that particular property. So Rhea, yes, so property management, I would not recommend about, going about hiring somebody, especially if you're a startup. What would you say to them?
So in regards to property management, it depends on everyone. For example, physicians, they're very busy. Having another
Mm,
side
mhm,
business of apartment investing is a full-time job, right? You're going to
mhm,
be called for tenants problems, termites, or toilets. So in the beginning, if you're doing it by yourself and you're not hiring property management, you're gonna be out of your brain because you're on
mhm,
call in the hospital, right? And you have tenants calling you at 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it's hard for the physicians. So
mm,
they would have to give it to a property management. Now, if they do that route, and I agree with you, in the beginning when you start off, you try to learn as much in the apartment, investing, right? Be a landlord, be an active landlord. But for those who are not able because of their work, such as the nursing
mhm,
technicians,
mhm,
then what they can do is they can pass it off to property management, but they have to have the pulse. They need to know the ins and outs. They can ask the property management, what's happening per week, right? I do not have any property management. but they inquire the property manager what's going on every week until they have a pulse, they know what's going on, then they can do bi-weekly and then every month. But it's very important when you're starting out, and I agree with you, to know the ins and outs, to do the apartment math by yourself, because then you know that you are not being tricked.
That is absolutely correct. You're not being tricked. And I love that because quite often, especially when you're starting off, people can take you on a ride. And they can take you on a ride. I know I talking about experience, so I can relate to that. They can literally take you on a ride. So you got to do your due diligence on any particular project. Do your due diligence, whether it's a realtor, they might say a different number. Anybody, you know, your lender, your broker, they might give you different figures, but then it's up to you as the as an entrepreneur. You have to do your own due diligence. I mean, does it make sense? So then, because when you do your due diligence and the numbers, you know, you've crunched all the numbers, your NOI, your GSI, etc., then you are more confident. And so self-confidence comes from knowing and also then implementation. So I love that, Rhea, because you know what, you know, you can get taken on a ride and then you can lose all your money. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. So Rhea, this is so amazing. I absolutely love it. But you know what? I love it. And I absolutely agree with you. It depends on your work, on your lifestyle. If you're physicians, then definitely you know, you have no choice. You can't run from the hospital and go look after your property. So you have to, right? You're going to get called twice and two places, in your property and in the hospital. So
That's right.
so I agree. You have to hire a property manager. You absolutely have no choice. So this is beautiful. I love it. So if people are wanting to pivot, what would you say will be what would you say will be their go-to? How would you recommend that if they're looking to start out, what would you suggest that they you know, that they do?
So if you guys are interested to learn more about apartments, there are free books in the library. You have to borrow. You have to go to your library, get all the finance, get all the apartment books that you can. The other thing too is that there are free YouTubers that are putting their content out there, but you have to make sure that the people that you follow have done it, right? So we have mentors. Alka and I have mentors. So we want to go to where these mentors have gone through. So, you know, you got to make sure that they are qualified, they have experience, and they're doing what they are preaching. And third is to go for conferences, because like you said in the beginning, meeting people in the right room at the right time will take you to quantum bound leaps. It will open new doors, such as, you know, buying bigger apartment complexes in my own personal experience. So
Exactly, exactly. So there we go, friends, is, you know, doing your due diligence, being aligned with people who have done what you want to do, where you want to go, and they've had the success, because success leaves clues. Until you don't pick up on the clues that people have done or they are doing, you're not picking up on that, then that is when you know, we need to just learn more about ourselves and also the people that we want to follow. Rhea, so this is absolutely fantastic. I love it.
you are
So
fantastic too.
it isn't it amazing? I think about real estate, I can just talk about this the whole day. Because you know, it is fun. It is fun, especially when you're starting out. You know, you're so like enthusiastic. You want, you know,
Excited.
teach me more, learn me more. And you know what? So this is amazing. So where can people find your book?
They can find it on Amazon. And if you're a physician, you want to know more about apartment investing and how I grow and scaled my apartment business, I will be doing a webinar March 6th. That's a Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I have a general admission for 97. and I have a VIP experience for $297. So people who are investing in the VIP experience, they will get a copy of my book, a signed copy of my book. I'll do a 1 hour coaching with them. All their questions will be answered. That 1 hour will be tailored to them. And third, they'll get a worksheet, an exercise worksheet on apartment investing.
That is beautiful. There you go, friends. VIP experience. You don't want to miss out on a VIP because, you know, you guys are VIP. So you gotta go for the VIP, right?
Right, VIP, let's go.
Exactly. Let's go, VIP, rock it. So Rhea, that's quite amazing. And so friends, here we are. We're at the end of the hour. But Rhea and I, we can just talk about real estate all day long. But thank you so much for joining us, you know, each and every day. We so look forward to bringing, you know, great conversations so that you can implement and also be inspired what Rhea and I are sharing with you about real estate, about, you know, life in general, how we both have written books, and, you know, how that can also take you to the next level, because we need to level up. Every one of us, we're growing and we need to grow,
If
because if
you're
you're
not
not growing,
growing, you're dying, right?
exactly. You're disintegrating. So level up, guys. So stay tuned for what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. So same time, same place.
Thank you guys. See you tomorrow.
See you. Bye.